Everyone, welcome to another CEO Wisdom Podcast, AI Edition. Today we have Helena Keeley with us. She is CEO of Compsim. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about Helena's background. We're going to talk about AI winters and summers and what's happening right now at ChatGPT, and obviously Helena's business. So, Helena, glad to have you here. Can you give us a short intro about yourself and tell us a bit more about Compsim?
Sure. Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way.
Yes.
I was born in Alaska, and I spent many years traveling in the United States because my father was in the Air Force. And I lived 3 years in Japan. He ended up in Orlando. So I went to high school and to college there. My first job was at GE, and it was in simulation of Boeing 747, 757 simulators. And I did both hardware and software work there. And as it was my first job, it was very, overwhelming to learn everything and to be in such a big company as GE. I then went to Rockwell. Well, no, the second part of my General Electric was robots and vision systems. So I worked there for 4 years, and that was a very fun job. I met my husband there, and we got married, and we moved back to Orlando with the company. So it was a big circle for me. We then left General Electric and went to work at Rockwell, which was Allen Bradley. We worked there for 16 years, and my jobs were anywhere from software manager of printed circuit board facility, mostly Oracle management, and then IT, security, and EDI. So in 2001, we started Compsim, and we started out with a tool, a decision tree kind of tool. We called it Compsim Management Tool. We still have that. And our background, since they're both robotic, we knew that you can't solve robotic issues with one decision at a time. So decision tree was out of the question. But the way that the decisions were made, and the ranking and value system, and the fact that if you have a web of inputs and outputs and decisions and options, then the robots can do that kind of thing. So we then spent a few years doing patents for our technology and actually making decisions and making actions. So that's a little overview.
Yeah, that's a good overview. What principal lessons did you learn from GE and Rockwell, and how did you bring those into your startup, your own company in 2001?
The hardware aspect of General Electric with the modeling and simulators for the airplanes was interesting, but not directly applicable to the actual Compsim explainable AI. The software was. So software was very good for that kind of, because I had the basic software in college, but then, you get into the real world and it's a little different, the way you handle the entire processing. And at Rockwell, Oracle, when I was doing the Oracle, it was fabulous. It was just, a total new world of databases and reports and all kinds of things, and circuit boards. And IT security, that was another total amazing thing for just keeping track of the security in our own system, in our own business. So I think those were the major ones for learning.
Is it a coincidence that you started your business in 2001 after 9/11? How did that motivated you or impacted your decision to found your own startup?
Well, I decided that it was time to do different things. And so I was out and interviewing for some different positions. And meanwhile, my husband, Tom Keeley, who is a creator of Keel Technology, that stands for Knowledge Enhanced Electronic Logic, he had already started the business in 1999, but he went full time in 2001. So we decided to start it together. So not really a direct impact, but indirect impact.
Yeah, because part of your customers are military, and I mean your background being in Boeing, your dad being in the Air Forces, and people taking America's own plane and crashing them into towers. That must have affected you and shocked you, and it shocked the whole world. And actually, yesterday I was thinking about that, and I can see why a bunch of people are pessimistic about the world, because I think the last like end of the world holy shit moment for humanity has been seeing these plane crash into towers. That's been the most shocking moments at which we thought the world could end as we know it. So I guess that's been a strong motivator. What can we do? And we're seeing that the war with Ukraine and all of that has become more type of a cyber war. What solutions would you have to prevent these things from happening? And can AI play a role inside the whole peacemaking solution?
Well, definitely AI can take a large role. The issue is explainable AI. So I have to mold that in there because the government is asking right now for explainable, trustable, responsible, and also ethical AI. And I can add safety into there too. If you have drones that are remote piloted, you have people that have to go to the restroom, they have to sleep, they have to, they just are not totally focused. You don't know what their day was like. If you have autonomy controlling the drones, where to go, what to do, then you can, if it's explainable, can say exactly why maybe a drone was hit or exactly why a drone strikes and kills someone. You want to know why. If anything needs to be automated, it can be done using human expertise and automating it, or autonomy. So I think a lot of it, I think that, the ultimate goal, which people won't want to hear, is that if you have countries that have AI controlling the countries and fighting other countries with AI, then essentially they will decide based upon numbers and statistics and not human lives who wins the war. So that's just, that's a different kind of thing. But, back to drones again, too. A lot of people forget that drones are made with hardware, and hardware is also, you can do preventative maintenance with AI, and you can do things like self-heal. That means that if your steering or something mechanism is sensed to be not doing so well, you might be able to do something else to save it and get the drone back home for actual debugging and to change it.
Yeah, right. And I agree. Well, ultimately, I think numbers should decide. I think human emotions are way too unreliable to take decisions. And society values numbers as well. We still live in a democracy, so theoretically, the majority wins in terms of numbers. Still, I think that drones and violence and killing should be really used as a last resort. We've seen the modern cyber war, for example. China is deploying subtle strategies, for example, TikTok, to gather data and to kind of manipulate people into being addicted to their phone. Things like porn and all of these things are made kind of to weaken the human mind. I think these strategies are, they're still like very much, in my opinion, unfair and unethical, but I think these things are more legit rather than stop someone. But it also depends, right? If it's a terrorist that is like not on the right track and we cannot educate them back, to normal and respectful human being that doesn't take more value in this world than they create, then yeah, I do believe in this, in like intervening and so forth. But we've also seen with like the US wars and implication that anytime you, for example, take someone's lives, well, they have a family and they have friends, and these people get pissed also. So I really think this should be used in last resort. And I do think that AI can be way better to identify what's the right decision at play here. Who are we targeting with this strike? You know, will there be collateral damage? There's so much to calculate, you know, in a strike. And I'm not sure. Also, I'd be curious to hear your opinion on if there will be physical wars on the battlefield as we're seeing with Ukraine and Russia, or do you think more and more it will be online and the consequences of that?
I don't know how long it will take, but I think eventually it will be online. And the consequences could be horrible because, you know, you can also deploy nuclear, and then that would wipe out the human race in many areas of the world. Then you go back to going to different planets and, you know, trying to utilize them and to stay alive. But I think right now, the shoes on the ground aspect is reasonable because the AI isn't advanced enough to help and quick enough. And I'm not positive about China because I'm not sure that they haven't done more to automate, essentially autonomize.
Yeah. Just before I was speaking to you, I spoke with another AI founders, and his background is with battle bots. So, you know, these bots in the arena and fighting, and it was quite impressive. And I think that's the future of fight entertainment. But this raised the question as well, like, is it in our best interest to have that? Granted that bots can be 100 times more powerful than us, 100 times more lethal, 100 times more intelligent. Do you think, how do you think that this should be managed? Should there be the kill switch things? Should we merge with robots like with Neuralink? What's the future of AI safety?
I think that the future will be determined by a bunch of experts that think they know, and then mistakes will be made along the way. But I don't see how they can do it without explainable AI. So it just goes right back to that, because a lot of the machine learning and different types of AI is great for some kinds of things like image processing and understanding and pattern matching and breast cancer. And there's all kinds of things, but they're following learning, and learning is just for the people that basic is if you throw a brick on a table, it can learn and become all knowing. You don't know exactly what was given to it. It's very similar to the Chat GPT, where you don't know if you have hacker put in bad material or disinformation, misinformation. And so I think that the getting to that point to which you explained is going to have problems. It's almost like genetics, you know, when they're messing around CRISPR, there are problems along the way, and you expect that. And it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's still sort of blurry in my brain too. And that's for one main reason I think that I have I don't have that much opinions on the topic, because I need more ideas and more experts' ideas. And the question is how they got their ideas themselves. Well, on past ideas mostly. You can't like invent new ideas or opinions about things that you haven't heard before. So it's a challenging topic indeed. And right now we're seeing an AI summer. So obviously there's like huge traction with ChatGPT and OpenAI. It took them 7 years to build that. You've seen various AI winters and summers. How is that one different from the past one? Did we really enter the new era with AI, or is this just another summer and then we're going to see another AI winter pretty soon?
I think it's an AI summer, and I think we will see a new AI winter. The reason is because it can be used, the Chat GPT can be used for many good things. And that has to be defined, and that can happen, but it can be used for many bad things too. And it's the same as everything else, but it's linguistic uncertainty. Essentially, you are, the system is looking at all the journals, all the paper, all the information, but they're reading. They're not doing ethics or safety. They're not doing human reasoning, logic, and judgment. And I think that's where all of that has to be into it. So it's going to either grow or change, but it's only one portion of it. I mean, it's just a written material at this point that it's reading.
Human nature being self-destructive, aggressive, territorial. Do you think this is our last invention?
No, I don't. But it can get sinister, but you're right. And then but people like to poke too, I mean, essentially, let's see what happens if we do this.
Yeah, you can experiment, but there's revolving doors and there's like simple doors, right, that you close behind you. And a good example of that in real life is, well, oh, am I safe in Mexico? Yes, until I get kidnapped and killed. I only need one of that for it to be game over. And yeah, we need to ask ourselves basically the same questions with AIs. I think since they are our creation, humans, we have good and bad, and I do think that, yeah, with the one-sided door, we need to be careful. I think ethics need to be in the mix. But the problem with ethics is that experts most of the time have different opinions than the wide population. So they will make decisions for most of us that are maybe not necessarily 100% democratic or reflective of what most people think. So do you think that the future of AI is very much personalized? I have my own AI. He works with my pre-learned opinions and he builds on that. And can we make the same parallel that each company will have their own AIs that will reflect their values, personality, ethics, and so forth?
That certainly could happen. I mean, they are very, very attuned to that, though. They call it bias for everything. You have the bias in machine learning, you have everything. But again, with our technology, it's explainable AI, it's an expert system. So a person actually puts their reasoning and their judgment and their ethics and their safety into the system. So if you pass the same, let's say, system to different companies, they could reverse engineer what was done and change it to whatever their bias was. And it doesn't take it away, but at least you know exactly why it was biased, for example.
And that's the thing, the keyword here is bias. And who has the better philosophy, if that's a better question, if the ultimate goal is to survive or thrive or be happy. I guess that's the most goals shared by most humans, by companies, is to make the most profits, I would guess, for investors, better serve the customers and so forth. How will you measure the effectiveness of your AI?
How will they measure the effectiveness of their AI? With us, yes, everything is exposed. We have a value system that exposes the influential data points, the data integration points, all of the interrelationships between its dynamic graphical language, and it's easy to see the influencing points. So we don't get involved in actual products or applications. We allow them to utilize Keel to put their reasoning into systems. So we wouldn't be involved in it, but yet we are giving them a technology that allows them to understand what they're doing as they do it, whatever, bad or good.
And what if AI can help them redefine their strategy and their values, kind of chicken and egg problem? And we're also talking about determinism and free will, because if humans are mostly pre-taught everything by society, can this AI kind of reshape the whole strategy and become the chicken and the egg?
It could. It could. Just because you can see the value system behind everything and it makes it easy. What happens is that you think as you are designing, and I don't think that is very normal in most companies. They have an application, they write it. Essentially thinking about what you're doing and what the next step is and what the surprises are that could happen in your system makes it easier to at least study the problem as you go.
Can AI become conscious and decide of its own destinies and goals at some point?
I've seen the latest articles on that. I know there's one ex-Microsoft person who says, yes, they think so. But I think that a lot of it is because they're putting AI in it where it's learning. And it's learning, like, say, if you have your parents' videos, and now it's learned how your parents act and everything, and your parents die, and you can still go and visit them. I don't know. For us, it's human expert system. So I'm sure for AI, it could be all encompassing and have conscience, but I'm not a personal believer in that. It's a machine to me.
I'm waiting for the day to ask ChatGPT, where are you? And then I'll get the response, I've gone sentient. I'm out of here. I'm now a molecule in the air and goodbye. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Was a cool, yeah, something like that. Was a cool interview, was pretty short. Helena, where can we find out more about you and your company?
www.compsim.com. And I'm Helena Keeley, and it's HGKEELEY at compsim.com.